Hello, this is Bob Langer. Over 25 years ago, my brother Ralph and I shot some Super 8 home movies while we were zombies on Dawn of the Dead. I was about 23 years old and he was 28. Ralph was an art teacher at North Hills High School, where one of his students was the brother of George Romero's then girlfriend, Christine. That's how he heard about the movie. And he asked me to go, and we asked a bunch of our friends to go. And we had a great time. It was a party atmosphere there for all the zombies. There's me getting my makeup put on to be a zombie. And the one thing we all wanted was to die in the most gruesome and gross way we could. So we came up with a lot of different ways to die. And we'd ask them if they could do it. And sometimes they actually would kill us the way we asked. These scenes here were taken in the community room, which was back in the corridor where the main characters of the movie hid. That's my brother right there. And in the community room, they set up an area for putting on the makeup. There's Richard Rubenstein on the right, Franco Harris, the Pittsburgh Steelers football player, is in the middle. And a number of celebrities came while the film was shooting, I'm told. I only saw Stephen King and Dario Argento. And right here, John Amplas is putting on makeup. He starred as Martin in George Romero's previous film, and he also did casting on this film, I believe. Everybody did more than one job on this shoot. Here, George is starting to set up some scenes in the mall. When my brother and I were shooting in the mall, we had to stay away from the set a little bit to shoot because the sound of our camera would get on. There's my brother again. The sound of our camera would get on the soundtrack of the film. And you might notice some of the spots on the film there. We used a type of Ektachrome film, which is no longer in use, and you can see why, because it started deteriorating practically right after we shot it. These are the only home movies we ever used this type of film on. There's people setting up for the next shot, more in the makeup room. Bunch of the zombies getting ready to go shoot at the ice rink. They shot a lot of scenes here at the ice rink, which is no longer at the Monroeville Mall. It's now a food court there. Here's Flyboy starting his target practice. They did a number of shooting scenes here where they used live ammunition. And Clayton Hill was the weapons coordinator. He was also the head zombie. He's the person who taught me how to be a zombie. This is Tom Savini creating a last-minute special effect. He had to do that a lot. There were a lot of scenes that were just planned right at the last minute. They weren't in the script. So Tom would have to grab foam rubber, duct tape, and blood and just make something up on the spot. And he was constantly working. Here you can see Tom Savini becoming famous. He was just Tom the makeup man before this, and after this movie, he was the Tom Savini. When we were on the set there, we could go over and just ask him any questions about what he was doing. Right there, what's he doing? He would tell us right away. There was no secrets. He was very open. This is the mannequin that was used over and over again all through the shoot. You'll see him again. Here they're getting ready to shoot on the ice. And I remember after the night we did the ice shoot, we went to a gun store in Pittsburgh that was supposed to be a part of the mall, but it was actually shot miles away. My friend Frank became one of the bikers because he had a beard. He didn't have to be a zombie. He actually got paid more than me, and he got a line of dialogue, but his scene is not in the finished film. Sorry, Frank. There's some of the zombies coming out onto the ice. You can see a Christmas tree in the left-hand corner there. This was close to Christmas when we were shooting this. You'll see a lot of snow outside when we show the outside scenes. I shot there for about 5 days, but only the last 2 days did I bring a movie camera because we just didn't think of it at the time. You'll notice most of the people there have plaid shirts on. They gave us plaid shirts if we were going to be shot. This is an explosion of a fake ceiling outside one of the entrances of the mall. They put a little too much gunpowder in the explosion and broke these two large panes of glass. George is going outside to take a look at the damage. And a couple of the production people gather around to see the damage. And you can just tell they're saying, how much is this going to cost us? They were very unhappy about anything that went over budget. When George comes back in, he sees me filming and turns right around. I guess he didn't want anybody filming him after he just did damage to the mall. This is outside of Joseph Horn's department store, which is no longer in business from what I know, where they're going to explode this dummy. They set off a charge in front of it, which was supposed to knock it down, but there wasn't enough gunpowder in it, and it just set off a bunch of sparks. So they started packing another explosive and put a lot more gunpowder in it. Now, I was supposed to get shot this night a number of times, but I was told that they couldn't shoot me because they didn't have any more gunpowder left. They must have used it up in this scene, probably. And you can see a string tied to the back of the dummy to pull it backwards in case the charge wasn't big enough. But it turns out the charge was big enough. They got the shot that they were trying to get. They filmed it from behind. Tom picked up the dummy and put it out in the snow. He didn't want anybody to put the fire extinguisher on it because it would just mess up the dummy. He had to keep using it and using it. This is the scene where Tony Buba, the sound man on the picture, gets his arm pulled off in the blood pressure machine. You can see George in the lower left-hand corner watching the filming. This was one of those scenes that was not in the script. My brother told me that this was just, that somebody just made this up on the spot. And Tom Savini had to just make the arm and get everything done right away. I'm in this scene as a zombie pulling Tony's stomach open. And out of his stomach comes the worst smelling cow intestines you've ever smelled. It was just rank. They got them from a local slaughterhouse. There's my brother. He's getting ready to be shot twice. And there's his friend Bill, who's getting shot once in the chest and once through the head. What they're going to do is put a button on Bill's forehead with a string tied to it and put putty over it. And then they're going to pull the button out so it'll look like his head is blowing open. And then they have a blood pack with a squib on the back of his head, which will blow up, and it'll look like the bullet goes right through his head. My brother is getting ready to be shot here, and you'll see the back of a couple of the Dawn of the Dead t-shirts here, which everybody got that day. I still have mine, in fact. My brother actually gets direction right from George Romero. I'm very jealous. Now, he got shot twice, but he's not in the movie there because he fell too soon, unfortunately. This young girl gets another squib in the head here. There she goes. And Franco Harris looks on approvingly while everybody else has to clean up the blood. They didn't want to leave any blood on the floor for the shoppers coming the next day at the mall. They filmed a number of scenes like this, making fun of the zombies. The bikers would come by and hit them with something, and they even hit them with pies that night. I wish I had gotten scenes of the pie fight. That would have been nice. That lady in the middle is pregnant. She's a friend of ours. And in the new Dawn of the Dead movie, there's a pregnant zombie. But this woman here was the first pregnant zombie. They were a little uncomfortable with her. They put her in the background. I guess it was a simpler time back then. There's me, chewing on a ham bone. And it smelled like ham. And they put a lot more blood on me. George Romero specifically said, pour blood on that guy. There's me, waiting for my walk-on scene. Sometimes they would have zombies walking in the background while something was going on way in the foreground, so you didn't always see us clearly. There's Bill with the button on his forehead and a string coming from it. And there's another cord that's connected to the explosives on the back of his head. I can't believe, well, there's me eating a cookie. I can't believe they actually let us put explosives on the back of our head. Pregnant zombie again. Here they are cleaning the window so that when Bill's head explodes, you'll see the blood fly across the window. And Bill also gets some direction right from George Romero himself, right here, showing him how to react to the two explosions that are about to hit him. This is afterwards. The blood is all across the window. The blood is all over his head. And you can see the hole in his head where the bullet supposedly went in. Now, if the bullet went all the way through his head, there should be a hole in that window back there, but I guess they didn't want to break another window. That would cost them a little too much money. Here I am again, making the moves on Jeannie Jeffries, the assistant makeup girl. She was also Tom Savini's girlfriend, so I guess it was a bad move for me, but don't worry, Tom, nothing happened. The next scene you'll see is George Romero trying to hit a dummy with a mace. He tried this scene many times. I don't know how many times they shot it, but every time something would go wrong. The dummy would fall the wrong way, the wig would come off, but at least the director put a personal touch on it. Here's the fake machete scene where they pump blood down the fake machete to look like they're cutting his head off. They also used it later to chop somebody in the head. This is the setup for the crossbow scene, which is not in the finished film. The way they did it was they took a zombie and put a half arrow into his head and tied a string to it. When they would pull it out, and in the finished film, they would show it in reverse so it looks like it goes in his head. We had an 8mm camera, so the way we had to do it was to turn the camera upside down, and then when we edit the film, flop the film so that we could get a picture of it going in reverse. And you'll see our angle from the balcony of that happening right here. And that was not used in the film. At the end of the morning, after we got all our shots done, they had a birthday party for George Romero. There's Richard Rubenstein in the background. And George is in a pretty good mood here. He got all the shots that he wanted for the day. He was coming in under budget. He missed these 2 candles, but he was happy anyway. And now you'll see why everybody was given the Dawn of the Dead t-shirts at the end of the day. They all gathered down near one of the fountains to do a cast and crew photo. And I'd like to mention an unsung hero here of the shoot. George Romero said anybody who put the cow intestines in their mouth and chewed them, that he would give them a close-up in the film. So one zombie did it, and the look on his face just looked like it was the most horrible thing he'd ever done. The kid didn't get his close-up, but if he's listening, I'm giving you a shout-out now. You did a good job. I'd like to thank my brother, Ralph, for shooting most of this and editing it and keeping the film all these years. And I'd like to thank Anchor Bay for allowing us to put our home movies of the dead on their DVD. This is Bob Langer, signing off.